K. Ford Sens Nation podcast.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another episode of the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast. It is Steve Warren along with the coach, Greg Kennedy. I've chosen to wear a ball cap because I'm very much in baseball mode. Like I've been cheering for the Jays since opening day here. Just an murderer's row. I'll tell you, got murdered. The Yankees by the Blue Jays in the first two games of the playoffs. Like, wow. It's so it's hard not to go down Blue Jay lane a little bit. How are you, Greg?
I'm good, Steve, because I have been on the Blue Jay bandwagon since opening day of 1977. Loving my Blue Jays, looking great, looking really good. They are the epitome of a phrase I like to use as a coach, that it's not always the team with the best players. Sometimes it's the players with the best team. And they really are a team from top to bottom. They play for each other. They love each other. They love the city. The fans love them. They produce. They put bat to ball all night long. They're a joy to watch. They really are. It's awesome.
And then this Yasevich kid comes up, 22 years old, 4 major league starts, in circumstances like that, like an emergency starter effectively for this team. But oh my God, you heard a Yankee fan just mocking the matchup. He's like, oh, they got some bum on the mound. And the guy went out and just was lights out. He was flirting with a no-hitter for a while. And it's going to be one of the great iconic moments in Blue Jays history, that curtain call that he gives afterward. Like, it was good. They show the first one, but then they show a little later on a second version of the curtain call where Yasevich has the crowd in the background, kind of a side shot.
Yeah.
He's put his hand on his heart. Oh my God. Like, that was just great sports cinema, wasn't it?
Yeah, you know what I found really cool, Steve, when he said Toronto during the interview with Hazel on the field, and he said Toronto, as in K-N-O-W at the end, not Toronto. So he's even learned how to say Toronto. That's good. I like that too.
Yeah, it was Toronto and Montreal back in the day, and the American announcers would call Expos and Jays games. Yeah, exactly. That was a big Bob Costas-ism. But great for the Blue Jays, and we'll be watching that, obviously. All kinds of great sports right now. But the big news with the Sens, the silly season is over. The NHL preseason has come to a close for the Sens, and a pretty tidy victory, a 3-1 win in Montreal on Saturday night. And I think that, we could probably go in and break down that game and all that, but we're moving on now. We're well past that, and the results really don't matter beyond kind of just getting one good game under your belt right before you get the regular season started.
And 2 good games for Linus Ullmark, right? Basically 1 goal in 2 games. Linus Ullmark rounding into form. The team game, above your check, shutting people down, using speed, using outside speed, moving the puck quickly, D-zone coverage. They were much, much, much better by the end of the silly season. And silly is an understatement as to some of those games that were played during this preseason. Some of those were just a waste of time. But I'm glad it's over with. Let's get on with the season. And the final cut's made today, and we're pretty excited about the roster, aren't we?
I think so. Yeah, it's too bad about the injuries out of the gate. If you remove the injuries from the mix in preseason, Greg, I think about 80% of Sens fans could probably have successfully predicted the opening night roster. Because it just, it's pretty much what we thought it would be, if not for the 2 injuries. Drake Batherson and Tyler Kleven are both going to start the year on injured reserve. So you immediately go, okay, who is taking the spot? Is Carter Yakemchuk in that mix? He is not. Carter Yakemchuk has been sent to the minors, and so the 2 guys that kind of slide into position will be Ole Lycksell and Donovan Sebrango. Lycksell, of course, the forward is going to be the 13th guy, and Sebrango will be their de facto number 7 guy. But let's begin with Yakemchuk. I think we probably are on the same page. That is not a big surprise to us.
No, not at all. And really, it comes down to he needed to do something special that put him in firmly into the top 6. It would do him no good to be here as the 7th guy. But what it comes down to is Sebrango has played enough of the minors. He's a steady Eddie, solid. He's better than Travis Hamonic. In the last 2 seasons, any game Travis Hamonic played, Sebrango's ahead of that. So automatically that's an improvement over last year. And just Sebrango's a guy that you can put in the stands and watch a game. He can be a health bomb most nights, and it's not a problem. You want Yakemchuk playing, and you want him playing regularly in all situations. So get him down to Belleville like we figured all along and get that development path going.
With Lixell and Sebrango, do you think there's an opportunity for them to actually get some time, even if it's on a short-term basis? Right now we know that Batherson and Kleven are on IR, but we don't know for how long. They haven't been officially ruled out that I can see for Thursday night in Tampa Bay. They may make the trip for all we know. We don't know that yet. But let's say they miss a week. Could Lixell and Sebrango maybe get some time just based on the unique circumstances of the Ottawa roster?
I'm not so sure about Sebrango, but I'm definitely Lixell will. This is a guy we talked about this, I don't know, a couple of weeks ago when we were down to basically 5 guys for that 12-13 forward slot. And we talked about it going to come down to what type of player you want in that spot. If you want a tough guy, at the time we were saying, it's McEwen or, I can't remember the other guy's name now who got sent down. Why am I dropped? I hate it when I can't remember guys' names. Hayden
Hodgson.
Hayden Hodgson was the other guy if it was going to be a tough guy. If you want a skill guy, it was Lixell or maybe it was Kaliev, and if you wanted an all-around guy, maybe it was a Holiday. But I think that what it comes down to now is it's not really 12 and 13. It's more like 12A and 12B. I think it will totally depend on the roster that you're playing against. What type of game are we playing? Road game, home game? What's the opponent? What's their tough guy quotient? That will determine who's getting that right wing job on the fourth line. So I think Lixell's got a way more of an opportunity to play because McDermott isn't necessarily an every night guy either. In the case of Sebrango, I think it's much more obvious that he's really just here as injury insurance for now, I think.
Yeah, probably. One thought on the idea of Lixell that he has an advantage is he's been here for the entire camp, whereas McDermott, while he has had a brief stint playing for Travis Green in the past, he's a noob. So he's still getting used to his surroundings and the team tactics and things. So Travis Green spoke glowingly, though, of how smart a player he was and that he'd pick up all that pretty quickly. But that also, I think, in the early going, and this may be all Lixell has this season, that may give Lixell a bit of an advantage. And if Sebrango has something going for him, it's that left shot. Because you have 2 options without Kleven. You got to replace him. Is it with the natural left shot Sebrango, or will it be Matt and Paolo or Spence sliding over to play their opposite side? I tend to think it's the latter. How about you?
Yeah, I'm with you too. I think there's no way that Spence is like, you knew he was on this roster. You knew there was no way it was going to be Spence going down. You knew he was going to be in the top 6. He's a guy you acquired. You acquired him for a reason. You think he can play. So he's going to be in the last lineup and in the roster. So then it comes down to, okay, third pair, left side. I just think it'll be Matt and Paolo. But who knows? Maybe it comes down to more of the same sort of thing we're talking about with that fourth line right wing, with that 12 forward. Maybe it's dependent on the roster, dependent on the opposition, the night. Who looked good in practice that day, then it's a coin toss sort of thing between Matt and Paolo and Sebrango. And maybe Sebrango gets in more games. But I think that if the season were starting tomorrow, it's Matt and Paolo moving, or Spence moving over to the left side on the third pair.
Yeah, that would be my guess as well. And it all changed when we learned that Nick Jensen was going to be ready for opening night. I'm surprised by that, to be honest, because we heard some of the timelines from players who've had that particular surgery, hip resurfacing. Patrick Kane was out of the lineup for 5 months. It sometimes can be 8 months, and this happened in May. So June, July, August, September, October, that's pushing it. And I think it was more like 6 months now that I think about it with Patrick Kane. My math has never been very good, Craig, but I know it's considerably less time than Patrick Kane took, and it may take some time, though. If you watched Saturday's game against Montreal, like Thomas Chabot is one of the smoothest skaters in the NHL, and he's got good wheels. But even knowing that, there was one moment where Jensen was retrieving and going back into his own end, and yeah, Chabot had a bit of a head start in terms of getting up to speed as they were both kind of back checking at that point, but Chabot just blew past him like he was standing still. I wonder if that will prove problematic moving forward. I know Jensen's never been Chabot fast, but I guess they must know these things, right? Their time, maybe I put the stopwatch on him in practice, make sure everything's up to speed there. I don't know, but you really won't know until you're playing NHL regular season pace whether he is as good as he's going to get post-surgery.
Yeah, and I've pretty much been on record since the day Spence was acquired that I wouldn't be surprised to see him in the top four. I wouldn't be surprised at all to see him playing with Shabbat or maybe with Sanderson. He looked good with Sanderson in one of the preseason games. Maybe it's an opportunity. You don't want to rush Jensen. Maybe he's not 100%. So okay, play him in some sheltered minutes. Third pair, that really strengthens the third pair having him there, and I think it's an opportunity for Spence to shine. And I firmly believe he's going to be a top four guy in this team. If not to start the year, then by the end of the year, I think he's in the top four here. So we'll see how it turns out come game one. But I don't be surprised at all if Spence is in the top four to start the season.
Celebrate isn't just about making your home look great during the holidays. It's about keeping your home safe too. A well-lit home is a secure home. And the best part, you can instantly change up the vibe. Whether it's for security, for style, or any holiday in between, Celebrate has you covered. Permanent holiday lighting you'll love year-round.
So the big trade that happened on Friday, let's get into that a little more. We've already mentioned that Kurtis MacDermid is an Ottawa Senator, but looking back at the deal that occurred on Friday, and that was after Tuesday's game in Montreal, where the Senators got clobbered on the scoreboard and got clobbered on the ice. At least in the St. Louis game where they're getting clobbered, they weren't getting physically manhandled as well. But on Tuesday night, that happened. And I guess it irritated the organization enough to go out and get a nuclear deterrent. Like Kurtis MacDermid is one of the NHL's heavyweights, but he's not probably as skilled as Zach McEwen. Not that McEwen is racking up points either. Don't get me wrong, but you're bringing in he's bringing in a guy making over $1 million for Zach McEwen, who's at minimum wage. Is it a deal you would have made? Let's start there.
Well, personally, I'm not a fan of tough guys and fighting and staged fights and things like that. That still seem to happen in the NHL, but I understand it. You need to have this. It's required, right, to play in this league, to compete in this league. It's required. You can't have Brady Tkachuk in the stupid fights. I don't mind Brady Tkachuk in that guy pissed me off, I'm going to fight him right now. Or I don't mind Brady Tkachuk in somebody takes a run at Stützle, Brady steps in. Those ones are fine. But it's the rest of those dumb fights where I don't need Brady Tkachuk to be involved. So I'm okay with MacDermid. It's about $350,000 more, $850 to $1.2 million. So you're paying a little more. You're eating into your little cap space you had, but that's the reason that you had the cap space, was to try to see if you couldn't add something at this time of year, and that's what they've done. It's another one of the few remaining Pierre Dorion signings. Right, McEwen was a Pierre Dorion guy, so another one goes out the door. And yeah, Zach McEwen, for all of his toughness, isn't really, or hadn't really established himself as a tough guy, as he's going to win the fight guy. And if you're going to have a fight, you might as well win. So I think you got a much better chance now with MacDermid of actually winning some of these fights and sending a message. And I don't really like it, but I understand it and I get where they're coming from.
I guess I like it because it didn't cost a whole lot and he got a little cap room to work with. And Travis Green, he's basically lived this before. You had a guy like Matt Rempe with the Rangers running around, injuring New Jersey Devils players a couple of years ago. The Devils bring MacDermid in, and he sorts Rempe out in a big line brawl before a game against the Rangers. And he saw the effect of that. Like, he's been down this road before. It's not just a hypothetical scenario. He's seen what it did. And he liked what happened. He liked the effect, presumably, of what happened after that fight. So, yeah, I still think there's value in it. I agree with you about the Tkachuk part, because let's use Montreal as the example. I think Arbor Xhekaj and Brady Tkachuk are two alpha males who will inevitably find each other every single time they meet. They've now got history, and Marty St. Louis is the happiest guy in the world every time Xhekaj gets Brady Tkachuk off for 5 minutes, and he'll take that trade off all day long. That's something that needs to stop. And there are probably other arrangements around the NHL where Tkachuk and tough guy X find each other almost every time they meet. Now you got MacDermid to take care of that. I certainly don't think you're ever going to be able to turn Brady Tkachuk off completely from being that sort of animal, along with everything else he does well. He's going to go once in a while, and he's going to take up for his teammates. But I do think this is going to help a little, and it doesn't cost you much, so I don't mind it, and we shall see how it plays out. But any final thoughts on that one before I move on?
No, you hit it bang on. All it cost you was your tough guy for their tough guy, and you got a better tough guy. Works for me.
Yeah, I'd agree. So the preseason is done. What have we learned? I think it was great for fitness and timing and all that. There will be those who overreact to the Sens getting worked over 12-1 in a 2-game period, but in both cases, it's not your A roster. So really, I can't. I'm just glad it's over. I don't really have much to say about the preseason because not much was accomplished beyond timing and fitness.
Well, a couple things that disappointed me. I wanted to see more out of Dylan Cousins. I wanted to see a lot more out of Fabian Zetterlund. I wanted to see a lot better PK, but then again, there wasn't one game where they played with, these are the 3 PK units up front and these are the guys on the blue line. So maybe that, but there was no change systematically to the PK and the D zone still playing the diamond. I, as I said earlier, really liked seeing the way Linus Ullmark got better and better, and it's particularly how he finished. Levi Marilainen might be a little bit of a concern. I liked Spence. There were things I liked and things I didn't like. Claude Giroux was Claude Giroux. Brady Tkachuk was Brady. Timmy Stu had a decent enough performance. But yeah, my main takeaways were, unfortunately, are all negative. Fabian Zetterlund, Dylan Cousins, Levi Marilainen, and the PK. Those were my 4 biggest concerns.
General scoring wasn't great either. I think that their shooting percentage was down under 6%, worst in the NHL in the preseason. So I think they had, I want to say I had the stat in front of me. I wasn't even tracking 5-on-5 or whatever. It just in general scoring. I think they had, I want to say 12 goals, 11 or 12 goals, but they had something like 185 shots. So the shooting percentage was the worst in the NHL in the preseason, according to CBS Sports. Now, but it's funny how not many, even including NHL.com, keep very good NHL preseason stats. I guess the world sees it for how worthless it is, but I thought that was one that was a bit concerning. You're getting over 180 shots. You hope you're going to bury a little more than just under 6%. I don't love that. And on Cousins, I will say this. I was pleasantly surprised with the velocity and skating he showed on Saturday night when on the PK, he tipped the puck away from the D-man and just whipped by him, and it wasn't even close. Like he just took off, and I like that. I like to see that. Didn't score, however, but that's one positive, I guess, on the Dylan Cousins front, who's going to be a very key player for this season. He's one of those guys that if this team is going to do anything in terms of a step forward this year, he's got to take a step forward and get back to that player he was 2-3 years ago, because he's taken up a very important spot on the Ottawa Senators roster, which also may turn into a competition at some point. If he gets off to a sluggish start by Christmas time, they may start experimenting with Shane Pinto, right?
Right. Yeah. What do you think of Zetterlund?
With Zetterlund, I'd like to see. They keep telling me that in San Jose, he got off to a very slow start when he arrived there from New Jersey and did what he did at the end of last season for the Senators, which is not score very often. And he didn't score again in the playoffs for the Sens. They keep telling me, though, that the following year in San Jose, that's when he had a terrific season, and it was like 24 goals or something. I'm waiting to see a glimmer of that. I've not seen it yet. I think he's an interesting player. But at the end of the day, you've got to finish. At the end of the day, you've got to create. And any sort of opportunities that are granted to him, generally speaking, I continue to worry that he's snake bitten.
Yeah, I mean, my concern is there was an opportunity here for you, son. Like everybody's been talking about it since you got here, that you belong. You could play in the top line with Stützle and Tkachuk, and I just kept waiting to see him step up and show something, regardless of who he's playing with. Show something, and I haven't seen it yet, and I'll be more concerned after 10 or 15 games in the season if I still haven't seen a spark or something come from him. But nothing in the preseason made me think that he's a sure thing lock to play on the top line. And, if Batherson's back, Batherson's probably playing on the second line. So where are you going to put him? Where's he going to play? Is he just going to be a bottom six guy or a middle six guy, or I don't know. But he had an opportunity to really step up and show something. And unfortunately, I'd have to give him a failing grade in that department.
Well, it's preseason, and maybe he's in that mode like some of the veterans are, in that they just don't really, put their. I don't know. I'm just so against the preseason. I'm glad it's going to be shorter next year. I really am. So let's get on with things. And with Zetterlund, benefit of the doubt. Really, it's way too early to worry about him. There are red flags there. There are red flags, I think, about San Jose. You have all this great success in San Jose, but the Sharks were uniquely bad, like the worst team in the NHL. So bad. And so he's probably getting all the minutes and opportunities. He won't get all those here. He gets some, but he has to share the load here. So it's going to be fascinating to see how this guy does. And by the way, before you get too down on him, it's early in the game. He is going to be a regular guest on the podcast this year.
Yeah, so I know.
Okay, just throwing that out there. Don't want to keep being fair. That's all. Keep being fair. So we're all glad the preseason's over. The Senators will start in Tampa Bay against the Lightning on Thursday. Then they get the Florida Panthers on Saturday, and those two teams are kind of in a feisty mode. I don't know if you saw their last two games against each other. They were, for preseason, they were battles. Like, there was a lot of dirty stuff, a lot of scraps, a lot of rough play. Those two teams look like they want to, try and win the Stanley Cup in October.
Yeah, there was all the Panther Lightning fines and suspensions, the Ottawa Montreal games. Like, there was a lot of preseason games that showed some 70s almost type hockey going on. Yeah, it's as you just finished saying, it's silly season. It's a bunch of crap going on. The games don't matter. Tough guys trying to show they belong, not tough guys trying to show they are tough guys. There's a lot of posturing and BS going on out there at times in some of these games. And some of the rosters that are playing these games are like an American League roster. We make jokes all the time. That's part of it too. There's all kinds of things that factor into it. And then somebody does something stupid. Then next thing you know, everybody's got their back up, and somebody comes back to try to stick up for this guy, stick up for that guy. And then, well, you're going to do that to him. I'm going to do that to him. And it gets carried away in a hurry.
Absolutely. Former Senator Scott Sabrin basically jumped Aaron Ekblad in the last game and just hit him against the boards, and then just started wailing on him, got a couple of hard punches in. And it was interesting to hear the Florida broadcast team talk about it like it was just so random, and there was no story behind it whatsoever. This is a joke. This guy's not even playing the NHL. Like, completely forgetting that in the very last game, AJ Greer did almost the same thing to Brandon Hagel, I think it was.
Yes,
and so I threw that out there. Say, why aren't these announcers saying, it's payback for that incident a couple of nights earlier? And somebody tweeted at me a very good point. He says, yeah, but that was a payback for this incident, and this was a payback for that incident, and that was a payback for – it just goes on for the hockey.
That's what I just finished saying.
Yeah, I know. The eye for an eye in hockey is absolutely nuts, is my point.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
And your point.
Because here, I'm going to – you hit him, so I'm going to get you because I get my eye for an eye. But wait a minute, I hit that guy, so you get to hit me to get your eye for eye because of what I did to him, and so on and so on and so on. It's a shampoo commercial, Steve.
It's true, and they'll tell two friends, and they'll tell two friends, and so on and so on. It is a little childish, but such is the nature of hockey. It's the code, it's the culture. Got to stand up for your pals, and so it goes. So the preseason is done.
Yada.
Exactly. Sens in Tampa on Thursday night. Looking forward to that. But let's finish up today with a couple of, this one is a Senator story because it's about Sens broadcasts. And a lot of change. Man, a lot of change. It started with the French radio rights changing over with play-by-play man Nick St. Pierre not doing play-by-play now for the first time in 17 years. He's still covering the Sens on his own, but he lost his gig. So that was one thing. Then we learned that TSN 1200 is not going to have Dean Brown and Gord Wilson, their broadcast team, go on the road to cover games. They'll be covering the games from Ottawa, calling the games off TV. which led to a bit of a mess in the preseason with a couple of the games not even available on TV, and thus we're all watching on sketchy websites and such. So that's a thing. And then we learned that Mark Methot is out at TSN. He's been doing that for several years. I don't know, but not a full-time per se, but he's done the intermissions with Claire Hanna quite a bit over the last few years since retirement. And TSN announced that he's not part of their broadcast package. Graham Nichols on the Hockey News Ottawa had that. And TSN just basically said, when Graham asked them about it, they put out a statement, something along the lines of, every year, the personalities with TSN change over, and didn't really give a reason for it. There was lots of speculation in the market about it, but nothing official from TSN. Mark Methot has lost his job, so he's paid a heavy price for whatever the reason it was. And so lots of changes in the old English broadcasts for the Sens this season.
I've never been happy with the TSN television broadcast, with the fact that we can't seem to get a consistent crew, especially intermission crew. You know, there are nights when they're there. There are nights when they're not there. They're in a studio. There are nights when it's this guy, and then another night it's this guy and this guy. And it's too much of a revolving door. Now, we can't see the Leaf games, but I'm willing to bet that it's Duffy and O-Dog and Darren Dreger and Cheryl Pounder or somebody else. Every single night, it's probably a pretty consistent crew. Same within the booth. Same guy calling the play-by-play. I'm pretty sure it's probably Gord Miller for every Leaf game on TSN. So it's a little frustrating that one night we'll get Gord Miller, the next night we'll get Kenzie Lalonde, the next night we get the guy whose name I can never remember, who was a newbie last year. The only thing that's sort of consistent is, well, even that's not consistent. We don't always get Jamie McLennan. Sometimes we get Mike Johnson. I much prefer Johnson to McLennan, but you're getting one of the two usually. But there's just too much of an inconsistency. And now the announcement that came out here with Meth being let go is yet another list of 5 different people who are going to be involved. It just like I want it to be consistent. Like I want to see the same crew every night, because then I don't get so much redundancy. Like, how often do you watch it? Last season, every single time it was somebody was on for the first time in a while, they'd tell you about how great Sanderson is, which is true, but they're talking to you like, we don't know this, and we've never seen this. And then the next game, it's a different, Carlo Koliakovo shows up for the next game, and he's got to talk about it. Then Cheryl Pounder's back. She's going to talk about it. Okay, we get that. We know that. If it's a consistent crew, the messaging's different. The themes are different. The cohesion between people is different. That's what I'd like to see. As far as the radio goes, I think it's disgusting that Dean and Gord are not traveling. I'm sorry, but that is not first in class. And I've been told to shut up about that because it's not really the owner's problem. It's TSN's decision. Well, I'm saying if I'm the owner, I'm going to find a way. I'm either going to negotiate a deal with TSN where, look, you need to do this, or I'm going to negotiate a deal where I'm going to say, TSN, you pay some of it, we'll pay some of it, or I'm going to pay all of it. Dean and Gordon need to be on the road calling games from the building live, period.
Interesting. And I found your point interesting, too, about if there was a more stable cast, you'd have a better sense of what's been talked about, in previous intermissions and things like that. I like that. Who is your ideal at TSN? Is it Gord Miller and Mike Johnson?
Yes. Now, if I could have the same two every single night and I was going to get them all year, those would be the two I'd want. Yep.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat, and I like Jamie McLennan as well. Either of those two guys, and Gord Miller is, with all due respect to the others that will go on the mic, Gord Miller is 1,000 times better. He's just a veteran. He's got the pipes. He's got good insight. His inflections, of excitement are all right at the right times. And Mike Johnson, to me, is just, I don't know. He just has the perfect delivery, great amount of knowledge and insight. So I think that's a dynamic duo for sure. But Mark Methot will not be among them. And among the replacements are former goalie Mark Denis. No, is it Mark Denis?
Yep. Mark Denis, yeah. He's in there now.
And former Senator head coach Paul McLean.
Yeah, that was an interesting one. Where'd that come from? Whatever.
Yeah, I never looked at
Paul. There's 4 people.
Yeah.
It's McLean, it's Denis, it's Cheryl Pounder, and it's somebody else, right? I think it's 4 or 5 people.
I'm just not sure who they're rotating through as a color analyst or as an intermission guest or so I'm not sure who's doing what. But I never looked at Paul McLean, and I stand to be corrected. But anytime he was doing his newsers with the media, I never said to myself, that's a future broadcaster. No, I don't think he's a bad communicator by any stretch. But it will be interesting to see what he has to offer in that area. He probably won't say it'll be interesting to see as much as we do. And by the way, I think the two things I want us to knock out are it'll be interesting to see, and mostly that's me. And I think we talked about that. Those two we go to way too much. I think we talked about that. Way to set it up. There's it's going to be old news we're going to talk about here. Just going to rehash. Anyway, let's close it out with this. It is not a Sens story, but it affects everybody. When you talk about the salary scale moving up, Kirill Kaprizov, man, did he jack that thing up. Connor McDavid, on the other hand, settled for the exact amount, basically, that he was making. Connor McDavid signed an extension, the much-awaited extension that everybody was thinking, what's it going to be? Is it going to be the first guy to hit $20 million? No. He signed a short-term deal, 2 years at $12.5 million. I got a lot of respect for that guy to leave that much money on the table to help his team win a Stanley Cup.
Bingo. That's the whole point. He put his money where his mouth is, or put his money where, one of the two, right? He said he wanted to see what kind of changes they were going to make before he came to a decision. And at the same time as saying that, he agreed to take less money to help them make the changes that can help him make a decision to want to stay or go. And I think it's great. I mean, $12.5 million is a lot of money. I think he's okay. I understand. Yeah, it's a big difference from 12.5 to 17, but hey, he doesn't need any more money. He makes plenty of money, everything else. I love his little commercials there. Is it Skip the Dishes that he's doing? Is that the one I see him with, sitting on the couch with the guy? He's got enough money he's making off the ice.
Yeah, the guy with the bobbleheads and the Zamboni and stuff.
Yeah.
I think that's Skip the Dishes.
It's one of those.
That's the gambling one. He's with the guy
that's
always,
a different. Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I like that one. I thought that's Connor McDavid's best acting to date, to be honest.
Well, what's the one where the guy's got the playoff beer dipping in the chili?
That's the gambling one I'm talking about.
Oh, okay. But he also does skip ones too, doesn't he? Or is that Draisaitl?
I can't keep track. I don't know.
Whatever. He's making money, Steve. Connor McDavid's making plenty of money away from the rink. And to take less money than he easily could have made in order to free up some money for Stan Bowman to acquire some players to get a championship team out there, I admire that. That's pretty impressive.
Yeah, I think more guys than not would not do that. I think he's also sending a loud message with a 2-year contract that's like, I'm all in. I'm committed to this team. I want to help you guys win, but I ain't doing this forever. He's got 1 more year left in his contract, a 2-year extension, so it's a 3-year window. We win this thing in the next 3 years, or I'm going to go chase it somewhere else after that. I think that's what that tells you. For 20, yeah, maybe. Although, I don't think anybody who's, we saw it with the Leafs, right? If you invest too much money in a tiny group of players, or in one in this case, you can't build the kind of team you want. And the Florida Panthers, they got a lot of guys right now, and maybe this is a reaction from McDavid. They have a lot of guys that are right now taking pretty club-friendly deals to keep the bandwagon rolling. What was it? Mikkola just signed for $5 million in UFA. He could have got more than that. He's an SOB, stay-at-home defenseman. Guys hate to play against him.
Right.
Tim Stützle, for one, that guy makes Stützle's life miserable. So seeing the Florida Panthers doing that and winning cups at the same time, I think that has not been lost on Connor McDavid. It's like, okay, we need to do this or we'll be the Leafs next.
Yeah, there's a blueprint. Stan, go follow it.
Yeah. All right, let's get out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for being with us today. Want to say a thank you and a hello to everybody listening in on CJRO Radio 107 let's try that again. 107 FM in the East End. Thank you to everybody watching on YouTube. And we're gonna. I've been doing this lately. Sorry, I'm babbling here now. I've been doing a lot of high production for YouTube with lots of clips and lots of graphics. Beautiful. And it's looked nice and everything. Oh my God, time consuming though. So I'm gonna try and balance that out. I want the show to be watchable and people to like it, but at the same time, I've only got X amount of hours in the day. I'm a staff of one here. So
we need an intern.
Anyway, we need an intern. Yeah, if you want to be our video editor, please let us know.
Some high school student doing their co-op hours, Steve.
Exactly. If that qualifies, we'll sign anything you want us to sign.
Anybody out there, let us know. Reach out.
Yep. If you love video editing and graphics and all that stuff. It's not that I can't do it. It's that I don't have time to do it. So anyway, enough of my whining. My God. Don't forget that our website is sensnationhockey.com, and please check out the Hockey News, which is a direct affiliate of this podcast. We are the official podcast of the Hockey News Ottawa, and you can find that at thn.com/Ottawa. Phew. Go Blue Jays, Greg.
Yes.
And we shall talk to you in our next episode. Thanks, friend.
See you, buddy.
Thanks for being with us on the Jim K. Ford Sens Nation podcast. If you're enjoying the show, please subscribe and review. Share the show with your friends and followers, or become a member on Patreon. Check out our website today at sensnationhockey.com.